So guys, in this article from The Hindu, we are going to have a look into why India should be increasing its presence in sports manufacturing business. Because recently, a report by NITI Aayog and Foundation for Economic Development by the name of Realizing the Export Potential of Sports Equipment Manufacturing Market in India is trying to advocate why India should be right now present globally. Because even China and Pakistan is having a huge global presence in sports marketing and equipments marketing. So that is where, from the perspective of GS2 and GS3, we have to look into the various government schemes and policies regarding the various MSMEs and industrial policy that we have to change with reference to becoming a leader in sports equipment. Because this is right now a hidden crisis. According to this NITI Aayog report, it is agreeing that okay, in India, there is a very big opportunity for us to be leaders. For example, in cricket, we are already global leaders, right? There is no competition when it comes to Indian cricket team. And also we have IPL. IPL generates a lot of revenue, right? And also it creates a lot of demand for sports equipments. Naturally, we would assume that all these equipments are coming from India itself, and that the local MSMEs, the local factories, the local karkhanas, they are getting the contracts in IPL. That we would naturally assume that. Also, some other glory events like at the Olympics, Neeraj Chopra won the gold medal. So we would assume that the javelins that he is using and the clothes that he is wearing right now, these are all Indian made. We would assume that. But if you see, look at the global market, $460 billion with reference to sports. Now, sports market can be of various things, right? Equipments, media rights, advertising, and all of these things. But when we only focus on equipment market, the global level is $50 billion, and India, how much we are contributing? Only 0.5%. So that is why this is a hidden crisis. Because if we have the largest population in the entire world, maybe also the largest country in the entire world by population who are playing sports actively, for them, we are not having enough manufacturing of sports equipments. Because if you can look into the current landscape of manufacturing, look at the various types of categories that we have for sports equipments: exercising, gymnastics, bicycles, cricket bats, nets, golf equipments, golf clubs, inflatable balls like footballs, basketball, right? Or various other kinds of sports equipments, if you can understand. India's export value is very, very less according to what is the global export value. Where if you see in almost all of the categories, our neighbors are there. China is there. Also if you see, Pakistan is there in especially categories like football. Other countries like US is there, Taiwan, Germany, Hong Kong, Italy, Netherlands, Mexico. All of those countries are having, a share between the top global exporters, but India is lagging behind. That means India is actually dependent on various imports of sports equipments. And guys, sports equipment manufacturing creates a lot of jobs. Why? Because that is a labor intensive sector. That means we actually employ a lot of labor. Imagine the case of Pakistan and Bangladesh. Global brands like Adidas, Nike, Puma, they sign up with various local MSMEs in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, to manufacture football, to manufacture jerseys. So even, in 2026, we will be having the FIFA World Cup, right? 2026, that will be hosted in the US. And all these Nike, Puma, Adidas, these are global brands. I mean, these are mainly based in Europe or US. They do not manufacture the sports equipments by themselves. They actually give the contract to various local MSMEs in Pakistan and Bangladesh. And since they produce, for example, if you take the case of Pakistan, in India, you manufacture a football with 100 rupees cost. The same can be manufactured in Pakistan with only 85 rupees. So there is a 15 rupees cost advantage, right? Pakistan has a 15 rupees cost advantage. So definitely Nike, Adidas, Puma will all go to those kind of MSMEs in Pakistan and Bangladesh, right? So this means that some of the clusters that we have in Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Delhi, Meerut and Mumbai and Pune, they are all falling short because they are highly limited in number. And that is why we are capturing only a very, very tiny fraction of the global market. where China is at 40% of the global market. Even Pakistan, 10%. So most of the Pakistan GDP also comes from sports equipment manufacturing, right? And in India, if you can understand, all these clusters, they have 80% output. That means that we do not have diversification of the global sports manufacturing hubs in India. We are talking about iPhone manufacturing. We are talking about various manufacturing of electronic sector. What about sports? Because we have the largest population in the entire world, we also have a lot of demand. Na? Then why we are not creating that demand in the country itself? Why we are not catering to that in the country itself? Since you see, globally, we have a very low share with reference to exports. And we are majorly dependent on imports, right? So this is where you have to understand, as of now in India, our main product focus is mainly related to, cricket, like balls and cricket gears or basic fitness equipment. But compared to China and Pakistan, they have moved beyond to high performance equipment such as carbon fiber, precision golf bats and various other advanced sportswear. So this means that we are actually lagging behind, even behind our neighbors. So what is the main structural problem here? What is the problem from the supply side? That is from the manufacturer side. Firstly, in sports, there is only not one kind of sports. There are so many kind of sports. And can you use the cricket balls in baseball? Can you use the football in basketball? No, right? So every sport have their own different requirement. So that what makes the business sometimes very costly and highly specialized. So one factory cannot tell that I manufacture both footballs and basketballs and also cricket balls. Since all of them are balls, but their main basic raw materials will be different, manufacturing will be different, plants will be different, machines will be different. Also, why manufacturers are having more cost in India? Because when you look into the various kinds of chemicals that we are importing, fabric that we are importing, technical textiles that we are importing from the rest of the world, that is actually subjected to a lot of import duties and tariffs. Also in the face of the US tariffs, we have more increased costs. Also, transportation is very, very weak. If you can understand, guys, na? See, except Mumbai, most of the hubs such as Jalandhar, Delhi, Meerut, Ludhiana, they are inland, right? And if you want to export the sports equipment, you want good connectivity to the ports. The nearest port is in Gujarat and Mumbai. So Delhi manufacturers of sports equipments, Ludhiana manufacturers of sports equipment have to pay a lot of high logistic costs. And that is where the small MSMEs lose out. Also, since they have high cost, they cannot grow in size. And if they remain small, they cannot offer bulk discounts to the various big manufacturers such as Nike, Adidas and Puma, right? Also, the certification is a nightmare. If you can look at it, FIFA, who actually regulates football internationally, has good amount of certification. That means if you are a sports equipment manufacturer and if you have designed yourself a ball, right, that would cost regarding admin cost, testing fee, licensing fee, royalties. So if you want to engineer one particular football, right, it will cost you how much? 27 lakh rupees per ball. What will be the same for various other kind of sports? See, right? Also, the various certification programs regarding sports equipments, they need you to actually keep some stocks with the testing centers, and that cost between 5 to 50 lakh. Sometimes for a small MSME, that is their entire annual profit. So this is very costly. At the end of the day, at the global level, we do not have any single recognized global brands. While look at China, look at various other companies, right? They have the same, because most of the MSMEs in the country who are actually manufacturing sports equipments, they are in this contract manufacturing trap. They only manufacture for the global big brands in India. We are not thinking of creating our own brand. We are not thinking about creating our own premium pricing. For example, a sports shoe can cost around, say, 200 rupees to manufacture. And if your shoe is very good, has very good design features, even the brand is very well known, you can even sell it for 20,000 rupees, right? Just because of the brand value. Obviously, the 200 that you are actually using here for the various raw materials, that has to be top notch, that has to be good enough. But if the brand value is good, you can get premium price. We are lacking that because we do not have proper marketing channels, marketing investments. Athletes like Neeraj Chopra are signing with global brands like Visa, right? Who are not also related to sports sometimes. So that is where athlete participation is also quite low in India. Now, when we look at the demand side, that is where we have to understand why the sports markets or say the equipments are not in high demand, because obviously made in India products are not globally visible. At the end of the day, we do not also have good quality products at the international level. That is where you have to understand the certification is very, very expensive. If you want your Indian product to go global, you have to have certificates. But the certification cost, for example, for one football, it is how much? It is 27 lakh rupees per ball. So if you want to have 5 different variants of ball, it will cost you almost 1 crore rupees. Just imagine the cost of doing business. And we also have low marketing. That is why we do not attract a lot of customers, right? For example, talk about the yoga mats, talk about the cheap products, they are easy to market. But what about the heavy equipments? They have very low visibility. Also, network effects of China, Pakistan and all of those countries who have developed well, they have did well, they have their own networks right now. They are getting the global brands. Indian brands are not having good networks. Also, at the end of the day, research and development is quite low. Now, when we also look at the domestic demand, why we do not demand a lot of sports equipment? Firstly, because since our childhood we have seen that the sports infrastructure in the country is not good except for cricket. Except for cricket and some basic Olympic sports such as hockey and all, we do not have proper infrastructure. Talk about football, right? We are a country of 1.5 billion people, but we are not participating in the expanded World Cup this year in the US. Since independence, India never actually played World Cup at a significant global level. That is a very sorry state of affairs. And that is why, simply we do not have a lot of demand for sports equipment. Also, the affordability is a factor. Sports equipment sometimes become very costly. Talk about the Nike, Adidas and all those costly brands. I cannot afford them, for example. Also, at the end of the day, the import preference is a very important thing because most of us import the specialized sports equipment because simply they are not in supply in India. And why we import? Because people generally prefer Nike shoes, Yonex rackets, Adidas balls. And at the end of the day, all of us definitely have heard this dialogue. In which movie, you let me know in the comments. But we have heard khiloge kudoge to banoge kharab. That is a very bad image of sports because our Indian society look at sports in a very negative way. Mainly, when we talk about education, our Indian education system has always historically laid more importance on textbooks, on classes, on rote learning. We hardly did get the time to go and play cricket and football and have good coaches at the school level. And that is where, we hear this term again and again. But we have to replace that term with khiloge kudoge to banoge, not kharab, but nabab. And this also was made very, very famous, right? With reference to a recent movie. You let me know which movie was that. So in this direction, recently in the latest budget, the government of India announced so many steps. Firstly, we have right now 500 crore sports good manufacturing promotion. Also, a 10,000 crore fund for the small medium enterprises are given by the name of SME Growth Fund. So most of the MSMEs operating in this sector can take help of this. Also, we have the Khelo Bharat NITI 2025, where this is a sports policy. This is not a sports manufacturing policy directly, but it's a policy to promote more sports in the country, wherein there is a sports for economic development. This is one of the pillar in this policy itself. This means that we are trying to link economy with sports, which is maybe indirectly hinting that we need more development in this particular sector. Now, we also have to look at various other state governments who have did very good with reference to promoting sports at the global level. See, the state of Odisha has done very well. State of Haryana has also done very well. So that is why right now we need to take long-term, short-term measures. Short-term measures would be, to reduce the import duties, to give more subsidies to the manufacturing sector, right? And to have more participation of the local Indian MSME brands at the international sports trade fairs to actually have better marketing and visibility of Indian sports. In the medium terms, that is within the 3 to 5 years period, we should be having a PPP model. That is where, the government of various states, they can tie up with local companies, with various sporting institutions, sporting academies to have better participation of the youth. If we have more participation of the youth in the sports sector, we can have more private investment and also the government investment. So this is where PPP model can actually come up as a reality. Also, when we talk about international federations such as FIFA and various other certifications, we can tie up with them and have also some amount of reduced certifications with reference to some reduced norms. At the end of the day, we need to have more made in India procurement necessities for major sporting events hosted in the country. For example, if I can show you that this is the total amount of future sporting events, major sporting events, which can happen in India and also abroad. So, we must try to have more participation firstly of athletes in all these events, of Indian athletes. Secondly, we have to take this opportunity to have more manufacturing of sports equipment because globally we have major events coming up and that is where demand can also go up. So we can also try to mandate that, okay, we need to have more made in India procurements. Long term will be like we should give more research and development grants. We should be having more types of PLI schemes. For example, we had the PLI scheme for smartphones, electronic devices. Similar model should be also started here. Also, if you see, most of the clusters in sports manufacturing are located in northern India, more extreme northern India. They have to be linked with ports where special economic zones should come up. We should also have performance fabrics manufacturing, where we also have the term known as technical textiles. These are the textiles where we have so many kind of categories such as agri-tech, build-tech, cloth-tech, even sports-tech. So we need to have more manufacturing capabilities in technical textiles, for which we have to think beyond Punjab and UP and we have to diversify across India. Because globally, India is the 6th largest textile exporter. We can also do the same with sports tech too. So this is where we should keep this in mind. At the end of the day, we have to understand India is actually very, very strong in these kind of products, athletics and ball sports. Then this, and then this. So we have to follow in this particular strategy. That is, we have to slowly go from our strengths to weaknesses, where these weaknesses, all of these categories should be turned into strengths by following the model that was followed by Vietnam. If you look at Vietnam and the sports manufacturing economy in Vietnam, they had 4-phase ecosystem, where in all of these phases, they tried to bring in more local brands and partnering with the global brands, signing up even free trade agreements, and then they try to diversify because as of now, Vietnam accounts for 25% of all the Nike factories. So you have to take a time to actually go through this in your handout. And you should be giving these recommendations to questions like this. And also recently in the budget, Khelo India mission was in the news. There can be a high probable question in prelims and also in mains pertaining to the sports sector. Now we will be moving on to the prelims simplified articles.